Given f of x equals the square root of x, find f composite f of x and its domain. Step 1. Get the formula for f composite f of x. F composite f of x is defined to be f of x. But what is the inner f of x? The inner f of x is just the square root of x. So I forgot a parenthesis there. Replace the inner parenthesis f of x with what it's equal to. It's equal to the square root of x. So now we're evaluating f of the square root of x. What do we do with the square root of x? We feed it into the f function, so it's the square root of the square root of x. Now that's the same as the inner x to the 1/2 power, all on the outside to the 1/2 power. But the rules of exponents says when you have an exponent raised to an exponent, you multiply them together. 1/2 times 1/2 is 1/4. 1 times 1/2 times 2, 1/4. But the 1/4 power of the base x is the same as the 4th root of x. So that is the formula for the f composite f of x. And we should actually box it because they ask us to find the darn thing. Let's write it here. F composite f parenthesis of x is equal to the 4th root of x. And put a box around the whole thing. We found the formula for the composition. Now let's find the domain. Step 2, find the domain of this formula. The domain of the formula is the only restriction is because it's an even indexed root in the hook. The radicand under the radical has to be non-negative, everything from 0 to infinity. So we shade everything from 0 with a boxy bracket to infinity. Okay, now we're supposed to find the domain of the inner function. The inner function is f, which is equal to the square root of x. What is the domain there? The same restriction because it's an even index root. There's an invisible 2 there. So we shade everything from 0 to infinity, include 0 with a boxy bracket. Just make sure you don't include any negative numbers. Now we take the intersection of these two graphs and we get exactly the same graph. Remember, intersection only includes values that are shaded or included in the two graphs above that you're taking the intersection of. So it's a boxy bracket on the 0 since it's included in both graphs, and everything after to the right is included. And in interval notation, that's written with a 0 with a boxy bracket all the way to infinity. That is the domain. We should have labeled it. It's the domain of our new function f composite f of x.